So welcome to the audit to FP&A session. And what we'll do in the next few minutes is talk about how you can transition from your audit roles, which is presently into either accounting or controller or traditional finance role to a FP&A role. Before that, let me just make sure that I mute everybody. Okay, so quickly, I'll just give you an introduction about FP&A Professional Institute. We started uh, training in 2018 when Dhaval started his first online course, which is FP&A Foundations. More than 2,000 people have taken this course with a rating of more than 4.3. And later on into 2022, you can see this book, which is all about FP&A, which got published. And that's when we decided to join together and start the FP&A Masterclass, which is now done. More than 15 cohorts and more than 400 people have graduated from the Masterclass. In 2023, we added more trainings to our portfolio, including the self-paced version of the FP&A program, the financial modeling program. In 2024, I released my second book, which was 3 months, 4 months back. It is from accounting to FP&A, and also our 6 month advanced FP&A certification program, which is CGFPA, Certified Global FP&A Professional. Very recently, we also launched our AI for Finance and FP&A program, which was just 3 months back. Overall, in the last 5 years, we've trained more than 3,000 students across all of these programs that you see on the screen. Quick introduction about me. I am Asif Masani. I am the co-founder and the lead faculty at FP&A Professional Institute. So just like most of you, I also started my career back in 2010, 2011 in an audit profile. I worked in audit for about 4 years before getting into an FP&A role. At that time, it took me, I don't know, more than, so I decided to move out of audit uh, after 2 years working into it. And then it took me about 2.5 years to figure out how do I transition and move into a business finance or an FP&A role. So uh, I wish I had guidance back then. It would have made my journey or transition much more faster, much more seamless. And with that, I will also introduce my colleague with me, Dhaval, who is the co-founder at FP&A Professional Institute, and he has trained more than 5,000 professionals. Welcome, Dhaval. Why don't you take it over from here?
Yeah, thanks, Asif. Thank you so much for the introduction. So, my name is Dhaval Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant, 15 years of experience across industries like oil and gas, advertising and marketing services, software, commodity trading. I worked as a CFO and a finance leader in India and in the Middle East. So, recently I moved to the Middle East and I'm now based in Dubai. And I'm also the co-founder at FP&A Professionals Institute. I've mentored thousands of finance professionals, and I've been an active online instructor over the last 5 years, and I've trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics in finance, business partnering, leadership, and data storytelling, and much more. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm extremely excited to be here, partner with Asif. One thing you will always notice is that Asif and I are extremely passionate about, helping finance professionals grow in their careers. And I mean, my journey has also been very similar to Asif. I mean, I started with my articleship was very heavy with audit. So I must have done like audit of at least like 15, 16 big software companies during my articleship. And after that, I reached a point where I said that, okay, if I'm going to start my first role in the industry, so I'm not going to start with audit. After I qualified, I took on a business finance role in an oil and gas company, which was a completely different transition for me. And then ever since then, I have been on the business finance and FP&A side. A little bit of accounting and controllership here and there, because that you cannot completely do away with controllership and accounting. But largely, I have been in the business finance space. I understand what FP&A is, and we have helped thousands of students to transition from accounting, auditing to FP&A as well. Right, so that's a little bit about me. Asif, what we can do is you can stop sharing the screen. I can start sharing the screen. Perfect. So Asif has introduced our academy as well. So what this training is about, right? So what are we going to cover today, right? So let me just give you a quick overview of this. So what we are trying to look at here today is a classic transition from an accounting or an auditing role to a finance function, right? I mean, the finance function of a manufacturing, trading, or a services company, right? And we're not talking about things like banking or investment banking. We're not talking about all those things. So we're talking about transitioning from an accounting or auditing role to a simple finance function in one of these kind of different sectors. So what is the roadmap for today? What are we going to cover today? My humble request to you would be that for the next 90 minutes, get rid of all the distractions, right? So we're going to cover a lot of ground. We will look at a case study as well. We'll try and cover it as quickly as possible. We'll look at some examples, situations. Right? So the next 90 minutes are going to be truly valuable, and we'll try and make it as useful for you as possible. So make sure that you get rid of distractions. And at the end of it, we also have some surprises for you. So make sure that you stay through till the very end. So what are we going to cover today? We'll try and understand the different roles available out there on the finance side and where you fit into the structure. What are the different kind of roles and where you fit into the structure? How finance is going to be different, right? There's a fundamental difference between how an accounting role or a tax role thinks and how a finance role thinks. So we look at some of the differences. Tips to prepare for this shift, whether it is mindset, your resume, your industry understanding. How do you prepare for this shift? So that's what we'll try and cover here. And then what are some of the certifications or courses that might help you transition from an accounting and auditing role to a FP&A role? So that's what we'll largely try and cover today. And we will open for Q&A at the end of the session. So if you come across any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. We have a certain flow, trust the process. We have done this a number of times. So focus on what we are trying to share, and we'll take the questions in the end. Amazing. So let's get started. Let's start by understanding the broad industry overview and then narrow down on certain roles available out there, right? So this is the broad industry landscape. You have your public accounting sector there, like you have the big fours, the auditing firms, the consulting firms, right? So they are largely involved in auditing, accounting, consulting, due diligence, all of these things. These are the public accounting firms available out there. And then you have your banks, right? You have your commercial banking, retail banking, right? Even the shared services of a large commercial bank or a large bank outside, they have been set up in India or in Manila or any of these locations as well. So those shared services are also available in the entire banking sector. And then you have your financial institutions, your private equity, your VCs, your investors, your investment funds, all of those mutual funds, AMCs, all of that are part of your financial institutions, right? And then you have the classic corporates. Classic corporates, I mean a manufacturing service or a trading company where they have different functions, right? Accounting, taxes, compliances, FP&A, right? And each of these sectors, be it public accounting, banks, financial institutions, or classic corporates, they require FP&A in some form or the other. Yeah. Everybody requires budgeting. Everybody requires forecasting, management reporting. Just that the KPIs will be different. The way these organizations are structured will be different, right? And then the way the management reports are being produced are different. But each of them, more or less in some form or the other, require FP&A for them to manage the performance of the business, right? So that's what we'll try and understand a little bit more. When you look at a large company, right? And I've spoken about this on multiple presentations. So let me just also, quickly cover this. When you look at a large company or a conglomerate, right? So you can find a number of different kind of finance and accounting roles, right? But you can broadly classify them into three buckets. One is a financial reporting and compliance bucket. Yeah. The second one is business finance or commercial or finance business partnering, FP&A, whatever you would like to call it. And then there are some specialty finance functions which don't necessarily fit into bucket one and bucket two. Yeah. In the finance reporting and compliance bucket, you have activities like preparation of financial statements, notes to accounts, internal audit, statutory audit, SOX audit, right? Different range of statutory compliances, taxes, your corporate taxes, your GSTs, the VATs of this world, right? Consolidation, regulatory reporting, right? Insurance company has a certain regulatory reporting, banks have a certain regulatory reporting. All of that is covered in the compliance bucket. And if we are starting with the classic accounting role, let's say a CA, ACCA, CMA, whatever the course might be, we have a fair understanding of this bucket. We have seen how financial statements looks like. We know how auditing is done. We have a fair understanding of how the compliance bucket looks like. And then there is management reporting, business support, and commercial aspects, right? So where we are looking at activities like budgeting, forecasting, different types of analysis, revenue, costs, margins, customer profitability, branch profitability, product level profitability, right? Different monthly commentaries that we prepare for presenting it to the management at a regular intervals, right? Working capital management, evaluating capex capex proposals, contracts, pricing. All of these things are part of the commercial side of things, right? And this bucket, to some extent, is largely experiential, right? We may not be taught how to prepare a budget in our accounting qualification. We may not be taught how to prepare a forecast during our accounting qualification. So this is something which we pick up on the job. So today, our entire focus will be on the second bucket, right? How do you transition from the accounting and the compliance bucket to this bucket? So that's what our focus will be. And then there are certain expert tasks like treasury, forex management, mergers and acquisitions, investment management, structured finance. All of these things are specialty tasks, very, very specific expert set of tasks. If you're a large company, then you can find these different functions out there. If you're a small and medium enterprise, then your roles could be pretty blended, right? You are the one who's preparing the financial statements. You're also the one who's preparing the budgets, and you're also the one who's taking care of the treasury and banking relationships, right? So if you're in a small and a medium enterprise, then your roles could overlap. They could be pretty blended. But if you're in a large enterprise, then these roles could be very specific, right? You're only handling treasury, or you're only handling budgeting of overheads. You're only handling forecast of a certain department, right? So that is how your specific role is going to be. And no matter what kind of an organization you go into, small, medium, large, in some form or the other, you will be able to classify them into these three buckets. Now you decide as to which bucket you are in at this point in time. Maybe there is an overlap, right? But the goal is to transition to FP&A and commercial side of things, right? And as in when you get senior, you will require both. As a CFO, you don't have a choice, right? You can't say that, hey, Mr. Taxes, don't report to me. You can't say that. You need to have a broad understanding of everything, and FP&A commercial factors come part of it. Now, what is the nature of work? So let's quickly spend like 1 minute on this. At junior levels, largely our roles are compliance oriented or transactional and very less commercial, right? So you are processing tons and tons of entries. You are working on a lot of spreadsheets, right? You may not be analyzing them. You may not be in a capacity to decide basis those spreadsheets, but you are working on it a lot. But as and when you get to the middle level position, supervisory skills are also expected from you. You need to start learning to lead a team. You need to develop some commercial understanding because business teams will come to you for advice. And at senior levels, strategic understanding is what is expected. Leadership is what is expected. So where you are leading multiple teams, right? You need to have a strategic understanding of the business, right? What do the business teams need? What do they come? They'll come to you for decisions. They'll come to you that should we price our products at X or should we price our products at Y? You need to be able to develop that capability to provide that decision, right? So that is what happens at the senior level. So at senior levels, the roles start getting less and less about compliance, more and more about commercial and decision-making and performance management of the business. So what kind of a company should I start with? Right? If you are moving from an accounting and auditing kind of a role, what company should you start with? Right? Frankly, you can start with any kind of a company. Right? So you can start with a small, medium, or a large enterprise. Right? Preferably, you should start with a multinational or a decent sized company. But if you're starting with a small and medium enterprise, then your role could be pretty blended, right? Which means you will also be taking care of some level of finance. You will also be taking care of the accounting, the compliances. Your roles could be pretty blended, right? But if you're working with a large organization, then your role will be very specific. Okay, you are like, for example, one of my friends was long ago, he was working with a company called Godrej. It's a very large consumer goods company in India. They had a huge marketing budget. And there were 4 finance professionals in the marketing finance department. So they had created a department called marketing finance, and they were managing more than more than $500 million of marketing budget for the entire company. Because they had a huge marketing budget, and it warranted a separate finance department to take care of it, right? So that's how your role is going to be very specific if you're working with a very large kind of a organization. So what could your role be? So broadly, there are 4 types of roles that you may end up with, right? So it could be either in a regional kind of a setup, right? Where you're, say you are FP&A manager North or FP&A manager East, whatever the case might be. So you're only taking care of finance and accounting or FP&A for your specific region, and you're reporting to the corporate office or the head office as the case might be. It could also be a business unit wide role where, let's say there is an oil and gas company divided into 3 different business units: aviation fuel, gas, and lubricants. You could be in the embedded finance team of these respective departments. Like you could be FP&A analyst aviation, FP&A manager gas, right? And you will be liaising with the business teams to understand about production, sales, marketing, build your P&L, manage the finances for your department. Yeah. And then present it to the corporate finance. Or alternatively, in a company like this, you could be in the corporate finance, where your main stakeholders are the embedded finance teams, and you're liaising with the embedded finance teams, collecting data from them, consolidating at the company level, presenting it to the management, presenting it to the CFO, presenting it to the board, as the case might be. So you could be either in embedded finance or in corporate finance, as the case might be. You could be part of a global shared services setup, right? So many American, European, Australian companies are now outsourcing their work to low-cost economies like India, Philippines, right? So they have set up their center of excellence or global shared services or back office functions, mid office functions, whatever the case might be, right? So you could be part of this, okay? And now it has reached a situation like 20 years ago, probably only accounting was planning to be outsourced to India. But now we have reached a situation where even FP&A is getting outsourced, right? You could be FP&A manager sitting in Europe, but your team of FP&A analysts is sitting in India, who are providing you the basic reports, who are doing the number crunching for you, and you are the one who is liaising with the business teams to kind of help them take certain decisions, So that is also possible now. So you could be sitting in India, and I was in a role like this. I was working with a large commodity trading company, one of the biggest in the world. And we were sitting in Mumbai taking care of the entire overage budgeting for 80 different countries for 1,500 legal entities. And we were just a team of about 20 people. So that could also be your role. So even if it's in a shared services or even if it's in a center of excellence kind of a setup, you should not, you should understand the role. If it is FP&A, please take it, right? You don't need to develop any biases towards it. Then your role could be in a project-based or a client-based kind of a setup. Imagine a construction company. Yeah. Let's say there is a large construction company and gets a project to construct a dam or construct a refinery, right? Now, this project is going to be probably running for 3, 4, 5 years. And they need an embedded finance team because these are huge operations, massive projects, a couple of $1 billion a play, right? So they need an embedded finance function. Even they have a CFO, they have the entire finance function who's taking care of the entire project accounting, project finances, all of those things, right? It could be at the project level, or it could be at the client level. So I remember when I was working with an advertising agency, a large global advertising agency, we had Bank of Switzerland as our client, right? And this client was so huge for us that there was a dedicated CFO and his finance team who was taking care of only this client. This client had a master services agreement or a master contract, a global contract. And then there were multiple smaller contracts at the country level contracts or statement of works that needs to be managed. So it warranted an entire CFO and a finance team to just take care of this client. And this client probably formed 10, 12% of our global revenue. So that can be one of the things where you are part of an embedded finance team of a client, right? Or a client kind of a facing operation. So that could be one of your roles as well, right? So all these are different kind of roles. You could be transitioning from an accounting and auditing kind of a role to any of these kind of roles. You could be taking care. So don't expect every time that if you're in FP&A, you're rubbing shoulders with the CEO and CFO and you are having visibility of the entire P&L. No, you may not be, right? You could be in specific departments or projects or regions or whatever the case might be, and you'll have to take care of the FP&A of your particular department, right? So that can be pretty much your role. So how is FP&A going to be different? Right? How is FP&A going to be different from accounting, auditing, taxes, right? Let us understand this by different set of questions that might come to you from business teams when you're working in FP&A. Let's look at some examples. What is the Q1 revenue target of our department? Right? Let's say you're sitting in corporate finance, 5 different departments. One of the department lead walks up to you and asks you, what is the Q1 revenue target for our department? You should be knowing the answer. How much have we set aside for LinkedIn marketing for this year? And what is the quarterly breakup? You should be aware of the marketing budget. What is placed where? Which cost center? Which cost head? You should be aware of all these kind of answers. Out of the 50 headcount additions that we have planned for this year, how many are we planning to hire in Q2? You should have a phasing. You should have understanding of when is the headcount expansion planned? When are we going to hire how many people? At what cost? At what levels? What seniority? What are they senior or are they mid-level? Are they junior level? You should have answers to this. How much new business do we have to bring in Q4 to cover the shortfall in Q3? We missed our target in Q3, but we want to plug it in Q4. So how much extra new business do we have to bring? right? You need to answer this to the business team. What is the impact of profit if we drop our prices by 8%? Scenario planning. You need to be aware of what is the impact of discounts and prices on your profitability. Okay. What does it do to the department profit? What does it do to the company profit? You need to have answers to these questions. Now, you see, if you notice one thing, all these questions have nothing to do with your accounting standards, with your tax laws, with your understanding of IFRS or anything like that. These are all commercial questions that need to be answered. Okay. So what is the first thing that you will need to do as FP&A professional? Mindset needs to move from compliance to commercial. You will need to start to learn to support the business, and you can support the business by understanding the performance of the business. And how will you understand the performance of the business? By learning the performance conversations. Accounting conversations are all accounting standards, disclosures, TDS, GST, right? Financial statements, notes to accounts, prior period items, right? All of these things are all IFRS accounting standard related conversations. These are not performance conversations. Now, what are performance conversations? Revenue, gross margins, product profitability, client profitability, contracts, pricing, budgets, forecasts, right? Sensitivity analysis, scenario planning. All of these things are performance conversations, which you will need to understand, which you will need to spend time to study. These are not taught to you in your accounting qualifications. You will need to pick these up, and then you will be able to transition to an FP&A kind of a role. Yeah. So you will need to learn performance of the business. So move your conversations from compliance conversations to performance conversations. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. Now, other difference that you will be noticing the moment you join an FP&A function is that it will not be a role of isolation. You will always end up interacting with various teams like sales, HR, legal, business development, production, operations, right, marketing, whatever the case might be, right? So you'll always end up discussing with these teams, collecting inputs and updates from them. And at regular intervals, you will be also providing insights and reports to them, right? You cannot function without checking in with these teams. You will have to go to them for various estimates. You will have to provide them with various reports with which they can take certain decisions, right? The marketing director needs to take a decision. The HR person needs to take a decision about hiring. All of these decisions will be taken only by the financial reports that you provide to them. So it will not be a function of isolation. You'll always be interacting with cross-functional teams. So building solid, strong cross-functional relationships is of absolute importance in an FP&A role. Okay. I hope you are able to appreciate the difference between the accounting and tax kind of a role to a FP&A or a finance kind of a role. Now, what are some of the key activities in FP&A? Now, there could be dozens of different set of activities that are carried out by the FP&A teams, but largely, these are some of the core activities, right? Budgeting, forecasting, and under management reporting, you have variance analysis and profitability analysis. Now, let's spend 30 seconds on each of them, and then we'll dive into an example where I need your participation. So budgeting is your annual business plan, right? You need to prepare what is your projected revenue for the next financial year. How much revenue are you going to make? What are the costs you're going to incur? What is your marketing plan? And how much net profit are you planning to generate? Right? Most of the companies at this point in time who are following a calendar financial year, they would be ready with their first cut budget. Okay. And eventually the budget will get approved and it gets uploaded in the system. It gets uploaded in the system, and then you should be able to, yeah, I have disabled annotations, Asif. Thank you. You should be able to then understand what are the projections or what are the estimates for the upcoming financial year. Forecasting is all about tracking the ongoing performance of the business. Let's say we have already completed Q1 of the financial year. Okay. So Q1 of actuals plus 3 quarters of your forecast. You don't call it budget. You don't call it revised budget. Budget is done. It's a frozen number. So we'll understand all of these differences. We spend enough time on this with enough examples during our 4 weeks masterclass to understand the difference between this, but we'll look at some examples today as well. Then comes management commentaries and reporting, right? Under management commentaries, you will end up doing a lot of variance analysis, actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current quarter versus previous quarter, current year versus previous year, all of these kind of different comparisons. And you will come up with your commentaries explaining why there is a variance. Is it a positive variance? Is it a negative variance? And why is there a variance for this? Profitability analysis, is all about dissecting the profit. If you tell that the corporate profit is $100 million, management is not happy with that. They want to understand from which business unit is coming, which branch is coming, which product. So you will need to understand the drilling down of different levels of profitability, business unit level, product level, branch level, right? Customer level, depending on how your company is structured and what the management would like to see. That's all about profitability analysis. Now, there could be dozens of different kind of activities that FP&A teams carry out, but these are some of the broad activities that you will notice no matter what kind of a company you go into, small, medium, large, right? You will always notice some or the other variations of these 4 set of activities. Okay, cool. Now, let's get into a quick case study. Okay, I'll share the case study with you. Don't worry about the Excel file and all of that. Everything will be shared with you in the end. So just that, focus on what we are trying to explain, the Excel file and how I'm solving it, how I'm approaching this. And then, I'll take questions if you have any on the case study, but I want your participation in this. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll do a case study for B2B budgeting, B2B budgeting example. Just give me a second. Let me just clean this up for you. So B2B budget, what do you mean by B2B? Business to business, which means a business that sells to other businesses. What is B2C? It is business to consumer, right? So it sells directly to the consumer. Take the example of Amazon. Amazon Web Services is a B2B business. Right? Amazon e-commerce website is a B2C business where you're directly selling it to the consumer. Okay, let me share the screen now. Okay, I want your complete undivided attention. I'll ask you questions at regular intervals. First, we'll solve it. We'll try and solve to a certain extent, and then I'll open it up for certain questions. So here's the case study in front of you. You are working with Infosys as business finance manager, primarily looking at client contracts, business unit profitability, and business unit FP&A. So you are part of a business unit. Infosys is a B2B software company providing software services to various clients. Revenue is generated by retainer contracts and projects. Retainer contracts, where you are actually billing a fixed sum of money for a certain scope of work. It could be on a monthly basis, or it could be basis the timesheets that you have deployed certain junior engineers, senior engineers, developers, senior developers, whatever the case might be. You are billing them either on time basis or on a fixed basis. That's a retainer contract. And then there are projects. Projects are 3 months, 6 months, 8-month projects. You build them on certain milestones. If you complete this milestone, you can build 15% of the revenue. If you complete this milestone, you can build 30%. So that's based on projects. You are required to work with the business lead and prepare the revenue projections for 2024. You are the business unit finance manager, and you are required to prepare the business unit P&L for or business unit revenue estimates for 2024. Senior management guidance is to aim for 12% growth over 2023. That's the senior management's wish. We will see how to deal with it. Assume that we are now at the end of December 2023. So we are now preparing the revenue budget for 2024. Now, how would we approach this typically? So we would look at our existing contracts, what are our existing clients, existing relationships, right? So we should look at those things, discuss with the project leads, discuss with the business managers, discuss with the client relationship managers, and then understand what is the status of our client relationships, and then try and project some revenue for 2024. So what I did now, I got my templates ready. Yeah, I got my templates ready here. And I'm seeing that these are my existing clients. So I have my 2023 revenue here. Okay. And I have my existing retainer per month. If it's a retainer client, then I've captured the retainer per month. I'm now expected to prepare the budget for Jan to December 2024. Now, here are my discussion notes with the business head. I will try and give effect to each of them one by one. Visa will renew its contract for 1 more year at the same rate. So Visa is at $1 million. It's going to renew the contract till the end of the year. So I'm going to take it from January to December. I'm going to slightly be fast here. So please focus. Bank of America contract ends June 24, and there is a strong possibility that they may not renew. Bank of America is giving us $500,000 a month. The contract is going to continue till June. And after June, we don't know whether the client will renew or not. The business lead feels that they may not renew for whatever may be the relationship. Maybe they'll go into a bid. Maybe they don't like us anymore. Maybe they are hiring some other agency and they have already put us on notice. Maybe the project is coming to an end and they don't need our support anymore. Whatever the case might be. IBM has agreed to renew its contract with an escalation of $100,000 per month. So we have IBM paying us $1.4 million per month, and they have they have agreed to escalate the fee by $100,000. Now, this could just be a price escalation, or there might be an increase in scope, whatever the case might be. But it is going to grow from $1.4 million to $1.5 million per month, and it's going to continue till the end of the year. ExxonMobil has decided to discontinue our services from 2024. ExxonMobil, which was paying us $6 million per month, right, which was probably our biggest client in 2023, has decided to discontinue with us, right? 2024. There's already a big gap of revenue, so we don't know where this revenue is going to come from. We'll see. Okay, but right now, there is no revenue coming in from ExxonMobil from 2024 onwards. Talks with Microsoft have fructified. Contract is under discussion. Likely commencement of retainer from 1st of March at $3.5 million, right? Microsoft contract, usually in large service companies, the contract finalization takes a couple of months. Our legal team is saying this, their legal team is saying that. It keeps, like a ping pong ball. So it always takes time for the contracts to be finalized. So we are estimating that the Microsoft contract will be finalized from March onwards. So $3.5 million from March till the end of the year. Then comes L&T. L&T has asked for a scope and fee reduction of 20% from April onwards. So L&T is currently at $1.5 million per month. It's going to continue till March at the same rate. And from April onwards, there'll be a 20% reduction in fee. 20% reduction fee of $1.5 million is $300,000 reduction. So that's $1.2 million continuing till the end of the year. Now, this reduction may be for anything, right? So their scope might be reduced. They don't want that many engineers anymore to be deployed on their site, whatever the case might be, right? So they have agreed to they have decided to reduce the scope and the fee thereon. So we have to account for it. Ministry of Tourism is planning for a bigger project, roughly $4 million, split equally between April and May. So all these are our retainer relationships, right? We have an ongoing relationship with these clients. But Ministry of Tourism is a project. Last year, they did a $1 million project. This time, they are going to do a $4 million project split between April and May. So I'm just putting an equal amount as a placeholder, which is 2 million and 2 million. Now, this doesn't mean it will come on the 1st of April. It may start on 10th of April. Accordingly, the revenue will change. But right now, I'm in December 2023, so I don't know. So I'm going to just split it equally as $2 million each for April and May 2024. Management aims to achieve an overall revenue growth of 12% over 2023. Okay. So 2023 revenue was $125.8 million. Okay. And the management wants 12% growth over this, which means roughly how much? We need to be doing $141 million. We need to be doing $141 million. Yes, Sachin, that's why I told you that Excel will be shared with you. Just focus on the solution for now. Understand the steps. Excel will be shared with you, right? Yeah. So what is the target now? $125.8 million. Okay, was the revenue for 2023. And now the management expects 12% growth. So $141 million is what they are expecting. So how do we achieve this now? Now you are the FP&A lead of this department. You tell me. So how do we achieve this $125.8 million? And now the management is saying, now we took the stock of our existing client relationships. We went through all the contracts. And now our tally is only $87.3 million. How do we reach to $141 million? Any thoughts? Put your responses in the chat box. You are the FP&A leader. I'm now coming to you for a solution. New lead generation. Good point. What else? Come on. I need some more responses. Planning for new clients. Okay. Adjusting the budget. How can that be possible? How will you adjust the budget? Looking for bank finance options. No, we are not talking about bank finance here. So we are talking about revenue. We are not talking about finances. We are talking about revenue, right? So if we don't make the revenue, then we have to let go of people, isn't it? Software services is a people-based business. If you're not able to plug the gap of loss of ExxonMobil, we have to let go of people. We have to reduce our expenses. But that's still on the expenses side. Okay. We are only still discussing revenue. Increase R&D, reduce expenses. Those are all expenses side. We're not looking at the P&L here. We are still at the revenue stage. We are at the still top line stage. Okay, so don't go to expenses. Okay, your initial responses, a couple of them rightly pointed out. We look at new business, right? What happens, I'll tell you, practically in a services business, okay, you will always be pitching for new clients. You will always be pitching for new clients. So there'll be a consistent pipeline of new clients. Okay, and each of the pitch in the pipeline could be at a different stage. Some may be 90% probable to be won. Some may be 70% probable to won. So that is how you will always be looking at your consistently your pipeline. And basis that pipeline, you have to make some intelligent guesses about how much new business you will have to account for as a target during the budget. So one way to do that is I can just put a new business line item here. I can put some random amount, right? That is one way to do it. The other scientific way to do this is that what is the kind of average client win rate that I have got? Client win rate that I have got, right? So I'm just going to put client one as a placeholder. Okay. And I'm calling it a retainer. So maybe whatever the pitches are going on right now, that is in December 2023, maybe I will win a couple of them. Maybe I will win one client and the client is likely to start by March. Okay, let's say I'm just putting in $3 million as a number, right? Now, there could be some science to this number. It's not a complete shot in the dark. You know what is the kind of pipeline client that you are pitching for. Is it a small project? Is it a big project? Is it a large client, a small client? Right? You have some understanding basis your historical wins. I'm going to put client two, right? My team is roughly capable of winning one client a quarter, right? So maybe I'll put a $2 million client coming in from May onwards till December. So winning a $3 million client is not a big deal, right? I've won a $6 million client in the past. I just won Microsoft, which is $3.5 million, which means this is the size of clients that I win every time. It's not a shot in the dark. It's a science-based pipeline study that I've done, and then I've captured client one and client two here. Okay, if I know the names, I would put the names. Right now, I'm just putting them as a placeholder, right? I might win one or two projects, like how I won the Ministry of Finance project, Ministry of Tourism project, right? I'm just putting a modest estimate of winning one project a quarter, and my sales team is capable of doing that, right? So they will bring me one project a quarter, right? Now, what is the kind of tally that I'm looking at now? We are at $137.3 million, 9.1% growth. We need to reach $141 million. Okay. So let me adjust a few things. Maybe let me make this as $2.5 million. Okay. Yeah. If I make this as $2.5 million, I'm at $141.3 million. So that's a 12.3% growth. Management wanted 12%. So this is a good number to be aiming for. Now understand the terminologies here. Focus. Now to understand the terminologies. The existing client relationships that you assessed and then put the estimated revenue against those clients. That is called in the services sector as confirmed new business or identified new business, which means I know where this revenue is going to come from. Okay. The things that are put in as a placeholder, client one, client two projects, that is called unidentified new business. I don't know where this revenue is going to come from, but this revenue is going to come from some client in the pipeline or some client that I'm pitching for, right? Unidentified new business. Now, notice the percentages here. When I'm starting my business, starting my financial year, 62% of my business is confirmed. Okay, 38% is unconfirmed new business, which means I don't know where this 38% of the new business is going to come from. Now, a question to you. I want your responses in the chat box. And don't overthink this. Just go by your gut. Tell me 38% unconfirmed new business is high or low? 38% new business. I don't know where 38% of my business is going to come from in the next financial year. Is it high or low? Sachin says low. Come on, man. I have to go and hunt there $54 million out there in the market. The business head is already sweating and you're saying it's a low target, right? Okay, so most of you are saying high. Now I'll tell you. So this is where FP&A team's judgment comes into play, right? If historically we have achieved new business targets in the previous budgets of 30 to 40%, then this is not high. Okay, but let's say if I take out the last 3 years as average, and the average unidentified new business when I was preparing the budget for the last 3 years was ranging between 15 to 25%. Okay, then the 38% is high. I don't know what the management is smoking. So you will have to use your judgment to see whether 38% is manageable or not. If it is not manageable, then we have to go back and tell the senior management that, boss, 38% unidentified new business. Very steep target. We have never done that before. It's not impossible, but if there is a visibility of a large client, which could be signed any moment, then this 38% doesn't seem to be high. But if it's still far away, then it's going to be high. So that judgment call we'll have to take as FP&A teams and then sensitize the business that, are you okay with this kind of a target? If not, then maybe we'll have to tone down. The top-down approach is 12.3% growth. But when we did the entire bottom-up exercise, we went granular into the details, then 38% seems to be steep. Right now, we let this be. Let's assume that 38% is satisfactory. Okay, we can achieve that. We know we are capable of winning 1 or 2 big clients in the year, and that 38% should be met. Okay, if it is not met, then people who are working on ExxonMobil, what do we do with them? To some extent, we have repurposed them on Microsoft. Some of them we have repurposed on Microsoft. If we don't win new clients by March, then maybe we'll have to let go of some people. But that's a discussion for another day. Right now, we are in December 2023. We are optimistic that we'll win a couple of clients basis the study of the pipeline of new clients that I'm pitching for. I hope this gave you some indication of how a revenue budget of a service company is prepared, okay, at the start of the financial year or before the start of the financial year. Now, one question might be running out in your mind that there are 8 clients here and maybe a couple of new business clients. What happens if there are 800 clients? How do I tackle this? Okay. First of all, you don't need to do that in 15 minutes. Right? You will have some time. The second way to do this is you do a ABC analysis. For the top 20, 30 clients who would probably forming 50% of your revenue, you go one by one. You talk to the project manager, you talk to the business lead, understand each project, each details, contract, everything, and then put your projections in. For the smaller set of clients, you can just send the template to the project manager. They will fill in the estimates. You can then consolidate it. And if you have any questions, any weird numbers that you see, you can always go back and question them. Right? That's how you can put together a revenue budget for 800 clients, and you will have time. You will have probably a couple of weeks time to do this. It's not that you have to complete this in 15 minutes. For a classroom environment, we had to adapt it to a 15-minute exercise. Now, I hope this example gives you some sneak peek into how does a revenue budget look like. And revenue budget is just one small component of the entire budgeting exercise. Now I have to do this for all the departments. I have to do this for the entire company. Now I have to look at expenses, headcount, overheads, capex budget, depreciation, right? My rentals, my infrastructure space, so many things to do. All these line items I'll have to spend time on. Similarly, discussing with the business teams, discussing with the admin head, right? So what I've done is I've just captured all the steps that we discussed for your quick reference. This, I'll share this Excel sheet with you. Don't worry. So you can go through these steps. And then finally, once your budget is ready, you just upload it in the system and make sure that you take confirmations from the business. Otherwise, tomorrow they will come back and say, I never told you to put $54 million as new business. I didn't know my target was $54 million. Right? So these kind of situations may happen. Right? So budget is also about targets, right? So it can get slightly political, but make sure that you take confirmations from all the business leads about your targets. The similar exercise will be for a B2B company, a B2C company. It will be for a manufacturing company, right? Here, instead of clients, you may have products, right? Your product average pricing into quantity that your team is going to sell, that will be your revenue. The approach will be the same, no matter what kind of a company you work with, right? And the end outcome is to come up with a revenue budget. And the ultimate end outcome of the entire budgeting exercise is an estimated P&L for the next financial year. What is the estimated revenue, different costs? I hope you get a understanding of what budgeting is, right? And maybe we'll take a quick 30-second pause. I will take questions only about the case study for now. We'll take general questions in the end. Any thoughts, any questions on the case study that we just saw? I covered it quickly, but in our detailed 4 weeks masterclass, we cover examples much more complex than this, close to real life data as possible, so that we give you that environment where you can work on it and feel confident about it. Okay, let's move ahead, right? I hope you are getting the flavor of FP&A, getting a flavor of what budgeting is, right? So in our masterclass, we cover a lot of in-depth examples, but let's move forward and see, cover rest of the session for today. So how do we prepare for this shift, right? Now I've been doing, let's say, accounting auditing since some time. I want to prepare for the shift to FP&A or the commercial kind of roles. How do I do that, right? So there are some techniques and tips. I'm going to just quickly cover them. First, you have to leverage your sector experience. Like, let's say if you're working as an accountant or an auditor of an insurance company, right? Then try and look for an FP&A role in an insurance company, because at least your industry understanding will come to play. At least you can convince the person that you know what is a claim, what is insurance premium, what is reinsurance premium, how is it accrued. At least you have some industry understanding. Try and look for an FP&A role in that particular sector where you have experience. Find job through your network. Again, 50-60% of the jobs get filled, by unpublished jobs, right? So they are not published anywhere. By the time it reaches on LinkedIn, by the time it reaches on the job portal, it's already too late. That doesn't mean that you will not find a job on LinkedIn. You can. Okay, but the best way to do is through your network. Make compliance your bridge. Many times what happens is that, let's say if you're working with an accounting and auditing kind of a firm, right? Your first step is to move to the industry side, move to a company. Even it means that taking an accounting role, even if it means taking like a blended finance and accounting role, you should take it. Use that as a bridge to move over on the industry side, and then you can look for specific FP&A kind of roles, right? You may not be able to jump from audit to a direct FP&A kind of a lead role, and that may or may not be possible unless you are given an internal transfer or anything that any specific experience that you might have that might support that. Learning Power BI and Tableau can be a plus. At least having a basic understanding of how Power BI operates, how Tableau operates, what are the different kind of dashboard capabilities, right? Some basic understanding would be beneficial. Does that mean you have to invest 100 hours learning Power BI? No. Maybe 8-10 hours learning basics of Power BI. And once you join a certain company and you see that they are using Power BI on a daily basis, then it's your duty to invest extensively. Then it's your duty to put in 30, 40, 50 hours to learn Power BI in a much better way. SQL will help, especially if you're dealing with large sets of data. SQL can be beneficial for you. Create a reason with a qualification. Sometimes what happens is that you create a reason with a qualification on your resume, right? If you, right now, the situation out there in the market is such that anything that you do in FP&A, right? Any certification, any qualification that you do in FP&A will attract attention, right? If you just say, I'm let's say ACCA qualified and a certified FP&A professional, whatever that certification might be a 4-week certification or a 6-month certification, right? That at least attracts attention. The recruiter who's looking at your resume is not an FP&A expert. They are just going to search for keywords, right? So they will call you only if they see the keywords on your resume. So create a reason with the qualification, right? You can go for certifications and then put them on your resume. At least that will create a talking point. At least that will create, an interest for the particular recruiter, and then at least the conversation will move forward. Yeah, and then how you convince the interviewer in your interview, that really completely depends on you. And trust me, if people ask you questions about budgeting, forecasting, if they ask you how do you prepare a sales forecast, right, or how do you prepare a budget or a revenue budget, right? If you bluff, if you just take an intelligent guess, the FP&A lead or whoever is interviewing you will just find out in just like 2 minutes, right? So make sure that you thoroughly understand these concepts, right? And then attempt these interviews. Otherwise, there are less chances of success, right? So these are some of the techniques that you can use to shift. Best would be to leverage your sector experience, try and highlight analysis in your resume. If you have done a lot of analysis in your resume, let's say sales analysis, revenue recognition analysis, whatever the case might be, even in your accounting and auditing role, you might have done different kind of analysis, right? Put that on top of your resume. Give that in the very first half page of your resume, right? Certified, or ACCA with certified FP&A professional with 10 years of experience in the areas of 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Having exposure to sectors like oil and gas, construction, whatever the case might be. Bring that upfront, right? Don't make the recruiter search for all the important information. They don't have time. Give it in the first half page of your resume. Then you have chances of getting that call. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's see what's next. Now, what are some of the next steps that you can take for preparing for finance and FP&A roles, right? So I bring you back to this slide, where I told you about 3 different kind of roles or 3 different buckets of roles, right? So the compliance bit, if you are from an accounting qualification, let's say you have a graduation in accounting or CA, CPA, CMA, whatever the case might be, you have a fair understanding of this bucket. You have seen financial statements. You may have faced a couple of audits. You may have done audits, whatever the case might be. But this bucket, the second bucket, which is about budgeting, forecasting, pricing, all of this different kind of analysis is largely experience-based. And you'll probably need both of them to succeed in your finance careers, right? But this first bucket is covered in your accounting qualifications, but the second bucket is largely experience-based. You have to pick things up on the job. Okay. That is where FP&A Professional Institute comes into play. What we have tried through a couple of, the 2 decades of experience that Asif and I have, right? I wish we had these kind of online courses, LinkedIn, back when we started. Like how when we started FP&A, right? It was all about, me reaching out to certain seniors in some departments, trying to understand how a budget is prepared. If he's in a good mood, he'll explain to me. If not, then I'll have to figure it out on my own, make my own set of mistakes. But thankfully today there is LinkedIn available. There are mentors, coaches, trainers, literally for everything. You imagine anything from breathing coach to cancer healing coach. You can find a bloody coach for anything, right? You live in this wonderful world, so take advantage of it, right? So that's where we have tried to bridge some gaps through FP&A Professionals Institute, come up with programs which are as close to real case studies as possible, simulations as possible, and help you equip those skill sets, right? So we run programs at all different levels. At the beginner levels, we have our foundations course, the launchpad course. We also share tips on a resume preparation, interview preparation. At the intermediate or the begin, even I would say beginner, somewhere between beginner to intermediate, we have our masterclass, right? We have our financial modeling course, Power BI course, right? And at the advanced level, we have our a CGFPA program, which is a certified global FP&A professional program, which we would recommend if you are very close to an FP&A role, or if you're already a couple of years into FP&A role, then you should definitely look at an advanced program, which is called Certified Global FP&A Professional, which is a 6-month program, over 100 hours of content, MBA style, case studies, simulations, right? That's what we run. You can find different programs at all different levels. Now that you know that you have seen some understanding that is required for FP&A, now that you have seen some example of FP&A, now that you have seen what is the mindset shift that is required for FP&A, right? You realize how amazing it would be if you learn all the high-paying skills required for FP&A. You realize how grabbing those opportunities in the FP&A function can be really rewarding and satisfying, right? But how do we do that, right? The question is, you might be thinking, how do we do that, right? So what we have done is we have consulted with dozens of CFOs, and we have identified 5 critical skill sets that CFOs are looking for in finance professionals. Now, what are those 5 critical skills? First is core FP&A, right? Your budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, gross margins, understanding costs, right? All of these things are core FP&A concepts. Financial modeling, right? Financial modeling specific to FP&A, like understanding revenue models, business model canvas, scenario planning, sensitivity analysis. All of that is financial modeling, right? Data storytelling is not just about number crunching. How do you communicate this data effectively to the business teams? They don't understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheets like you do. How best you can communicate your story to the business teams so that they can take informed financial decisions. That's what data storytelling is all about. Finance business partnering. How do you truly partner with the business? How do you make their lives easier? It's not just about providing a report or a dashboard, right? What do they do with it? What do you want them to do with it, right? That subtle influence that the finance team needs to have on the business team. That's what business partnering is about. That's what CFOs are looking for. And then, of course, leveraging technology and the developments in AI that are happening in the finance and accounting field. Right? So these are the 5 critical skills that CFOs are looking for today in their team members. Okay. Now, how can you learn all of this? How do you prepare for all of these latest skill sets? Right. So what we have done is we have simplified the entire methodology. What we have done is we have introduced live lessons, for your convenience. We come in live every Saturday or every Sunday just for 2 hours a week. Okay. And within a couple of weeks, within 3 to 4 weeks, you will start seeing good results, whether it is learning FP&A or financial modeling, you will definitely start seeing some great results. And all of these are through 100% practical case studies. Right? I have worked in 4 or 5 different sectors now: oil and gas, software, advertising and PR services, commodity trading. Asif has worked with pharma, ed tech industry, banking, right? So all this wide variety of experience that we have got, we have summed up into practical case studies, and that's what we try to teach in our live programs. You will get a certification from FP&A Professionals Institute. Certification matters. It matters for getting a call on the resume. Right? And we also are connected on a monthly basis. We do a Q&A call session. It's not just that after the course, our relationship ends. Hundreds of our alumni are connected with us today. They interact with us. Asif and I are always available for their support. So we'll be there through the monthly Q&A sessions. And if there's anything urgent, you can reach out to us as well. You'll have access to the global FPI community as well. So we have alumni spread across 30 countries, right? And you will have access to the alumni community, right? And it's a great community to be part of. Future looking, any latest developments we share in our community. So so you'll get access to all of these things, right? And all you need to do is take out 2 hours of commitment every week. That's it. So we have simplified the entire process, and we have summed up all our popular live programs into our membership plan. Right? So here you will get 4 courses. That's FP&A Masterclass, which teaches you core FP&A that we spoke about, financial modeling specific to FP&A, okay, AI for finance and FP&A, which is our AI course that we have recently launched, right? Finance leadership masterclass. At some point in time, you'll have to graduate from an individual contributor to a leader, right? So finance leadership masterclass teaches you that transition, right? Takes you through that transition, right? Access to all our workshops, right? Any of the masterclasses, the guest speaker sessions, all of that we conduct for our alumni, right? All of these things are coming as part of our pro membership program, right? We'll give you a personalized learning plan. All these courses are at different times, right? You don't need to do all of them in one go, right? We can assess your journey and give you an individual learning plan that, okay, you first need to do masterclass, you then need to do modeling or AI. We'll give you a personalized learning plan, and then you can do these programs. It's a 1-year membership, and you can do it throughout 2025. Anytime you can choose any convenient batch, and then you can do it accordingly, right? But all these core skill sets that I spoke about are summed up into this pro membership program. And for a limited period offer, okay, only till the end of 30th of November, we have the pro membership at $297 only. Remember, each of our masterclasses, each of our live programs are priced more than $300. So over $1,000 in value, right, is what we are providing for a limited period only for $297, the pro membership plan. Okay, so Asif and I will share the details with you in the chat box, right? You can go through the pro membership plan. If you have any questions about the classes, about live programs, about the content of these, everything is available on our website. You can go through the curriculum. You can see what is covered in these classes. There are dozens and dozens of testimonials that you don't need to just rely on us. You can reach out to any of your students and they'll tell you how effective these programs have been, right? And what is the schedule for our upcoming live programs? I'm going to just touch upon Q1 2025. December is going to be a light month, so we'll pick up speed from 2025 onwards. So FP&A Masterclass, which starts on the first Saturday of January. It starts on Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. Then we have AI for Finance program, which is on Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. IST. Right? And this is starting again from first Saturday of January. Batch 3 is starting. Masterclass is batch 16, remember. And Sundays, we have our financial modeling class, which is from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. IST, which is again starting in January. And then the finance leadership masterclass, Sundays, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., which is starting in February. So financial modeling batches are almost one every alternate month, and leadership batches are one every alternate month. AI and masterclass batches are almost on a monthly basis, sometimes alternate months, depending on how the volumes are. So this is the membership table, so we have done this. We have trained hundreds of students. So trust us with the process. And if you are able to equip yourself in 2025 with all these critical skill sets that I spoke about, right, you will be a step ahead in terms of your finance career. I guarantee you that. Yeah. So having said that, we are open for any questions that you might have. Yes, I also forgot about the bonus, right? So for all of you who have stayed with us till the very end, we wanted to give you something back, right? So what we have done is we have combined these 3 bonuses, the foundations course, okay, and the 2 recordings that we have done. One is for interview preparation secrets and the resume blueprint, and Asif's popular book, best-selling book, all about FP&A, the PDF version of this. All of these things we are giving you for free, completely for free, as part of the basic membership program. So what we want you to do now is that you can take your time to decide on the pro membership. Of course, we would love to see you in all of these live courses. Okay, but at least we want you to go ahead and subscribe to the basic membership, go through the foundations course, get familiar with the terms of FP&A, right? Look at how you can improve your resume, look at how the interview preparation secrets, go through Asif's book. And there are tons of digital resources, templates available out there. Go through them, right? And take advantage of that. Yeah. So that is the bonus. These 3 bonuses is what we wanted to share as part of our basic membership plan. So Asif, let's share the link in the chat box.
Right? I already shared the link. Just
fantastic.
Maybe for 30 seconds, you can also touch upon these plus membership, which is a recorded version, just in case somebody wants to go.
Yes. So everything in basic, plus you get our popular FP&A Launchpad course, which covers all the things like budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, pretty exhaustive. The advantage of a live coaching is that you get case studies, group discussions, simulations. but you still can learn all the core FP&A related topics in the FP&A Launchpad course as well. You also have access to the monthly Q&A support calls that we conduct on a monthly basis, where you can come in, ask any questions, and we are happy to support you on that. Access to guest sessions. Sometimes we bring in tool providers, expert CFOs, sector-specific experts, right? So you will get access to all of those sessions as well, and any of the updates or any future self-paced courses that we are planning to launch in the Plus membership. You'll get access to all of that.
So in 2025, you're planning to launch about 4 to 5 self-paced programs every other month. So that also you will get access as and when they are published. So
yeah, and the Plus membership.
Yeah, it's self-paced. Keep in mind that the Plus membership is recordings and self-paced, so there's no live interaction. Only the Pro membership has live classes where we meet interactively and we come on Zoom live and we do the classes live.
And the Plus membership is also available till 30th of November at 40% off. So you can get it at 40% off on $97. Great. So I'll just conclude with my favorite quote, and it goes something like this: every next level of your life will demand a different you. So are you ready for your next level? Right. So what is the readiness? What is the effort that you are putting on the readiness? First, you have to be ready for it. Then the universe will give you the stuff that you are demanding. Right. So just experience, just looking at a limited way will not help you. So take steps, take concrete steps to upskill yourself, take that initiative, be bold in your decisions, and go for it.
All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining and staying back till the end. Hopefully, we'll see you in one of our membership programs, and looking forward to interact with you going forward. Thank you, Dhaval. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. All the best.